guys, and how's it going? So this is going to be somewhat of a different video. This is going to be actually a vlog, and I figured, considering that most of my hobbies actually take place at home, maybe it would be a good idea to actually start one of these just generally game development vlogs, just to keep myself on track. These are most of my hobbies are home-based: drawing, game development, programming, and all that stuff. Music's down in the basement, and it's all at home. I virtually don't need to exit my home for any reason really, besides work and besides occasionally socializing with some of my friends. For the most part, everything is in here, so I figured something like a vlog series may help me to grasp just how much progress I'm doing. So these may be daily vlogs, or these may be weekly vlogs, just to keep myself in check, so to speak. Daily vlogs will be very interesting, considering that I'm trying to do this stuff without any editing, so to speak. So these are just purely one single straight video. I hate doing editing on these types of videos, considering it takes a long time to render. I mean, I tried to record this video yesterday, and I was just way too tired. This computer that I'm running right now is this is the Core 2 Quad Q8300 processor. So this is good enough for development in Unreal Engine and development in Game Maker Studio for moderately well-managed games. So if you know what you're doing, if you know how to conserve the resources when you're doing all the programming, game development, when you do all the proper stuff, you can get a lot of quality out of this processor. The only thing is that it's not too video editing friendly. It takes it took almost 3 hours to render the last version of the same vlog that I tried to do yesterday. 3 hours, and I turned it on and I was like, ooh, no, I gotta redo this. So I basically I'm trying to do this stuff right off the bat on the same take. It's not gonna be great, but screw it, it's a vlog. So I have been trying to build the second version of this computer here, this computer station right here, and you can't see it because this webcam is a piece of garbage, but I'll try not to move it anymore. The thing is, I can play, just for comparison, I can play Wolfenstein New Order and I can play Payday 2 on this machine practically without any frame drops, which is amazing, because if my computer can run those types of games with a lot of work and proper resource management, I can make games that look just as good as that on my current existing hardware without any major upgrades. And all I have here, 8 gigs of RAM. This is DDR2 RAM, by the way. Q8300 Core 2 Quad processor. It's like 2.5 gigahertz, but I mean that's fairly relevant nowadays. And the GTX 750, that graphics card, not the TI one. And I have to build the exact same machine that's actually sitting right here. In fact, since I moved everything upstairs, this is my room. God, it's gone through so many rearrangements of everything, all the tables, all the shelves. I've actually moved down most of the shelves downstairs, and I've left and I took everything that's game development and graphics related, like concept art. I've took all of that and moved it up here upstairs, so that this room is purely dedicated to graphical stuff and programming and everything that basically takes place on a computer or on paper. So with that being said, let's see. So this is my room right now. I got this long ass table from IKEA for $100, and I could have easily just made one of these, but honestly at this point I just kind of got tired. So this is the computer right there. You see it sitting over there, the exact same case, the exact same motherboard. It is ridiculous. My processor, the Q80-300, just for comparison, costs $25 on eBay, and it is powerful enough in conjunction with a GTX 750, which only costs $100, to run games like Payday 2, even Wolfenstein, which for me are just they're pretty nice looking games. I mean, when you look at programming, when people say, oh, gameplay is above the graphical fidelity of your game, and it's like, yes, understandable. From game development standpoint, the fact that this hardware can still achieve that kind of level of detail without any slowdowns is actually fantastic. Because if I can make these games on this type of machine and have them not lag or slow down, and be fairly consistent with performance, then that means all of the modern and later gaming computers will run this game without any issues. Which is that's the one pro of using older hardware. You've got quite a bit of a stretch in terms of the target hardware for your customers. So I'm building the exact same computer right now. The only thing is I don't have a graphics card for it, and I've seen that a GTX 750 Ti goes for about 120 on Newegg Canada, which is pretty good. So I mean, as soon as I get some money in, I'll be able to complete that. And I gotta tell you, I gotta pick up a hard drive, and I'm still waiting for the RAM from China to come in, the DDR2 RAM to come in from AliExpress or eBay. It's still coming from China, but it's, I bought it from eBay. $40 too. Not bad at all. And this motherboard, this is the shut up. Whatchamacallit? This is the, what was this? I'll tell you in a second with this motherboard, because I have the exact same motherboard in this computer. This is the DQ3510 Intel motherboard, and obviously 8 gigs of RAM, that goes without saying. Considering that in-game development, you're gonna have your Photoshop open or other graphical editor. You're gonna have your maybe Illustrator instead of Photoshop. You're gonna have like After Effects for visual pre-baked animations. You're gonna have your game development software open. If it's 3D game, imagine having Maya, which is a hefty 3D modeling piece of software, and Unreal Engine open at the same time. I remember having to reboot my computer every like 3 hours because my 4 gigs of RAM would get clogged up. You need RAM for sure, like absolutely need RAM to run any sort of like smooth game development. With that being said, I have two monitors over there, and I've got 2 monitors over here, and so as soon as that computer is built, I will be able to resume work on the RTAG Rise multiplayer aspect, considering that I have 2 laptops, and they're pretty old laptops, but they run fast if you know how to run them properly. You never run stock operation system or operating system that you get from the store. They put so much garbage, and just I don't even have any antiviruses on my computer because they slow down my goddamn computer so much. If you know what you're browsing, you don't need an antivirus. Okay, the antivirus is for the people who can't tell that music file is an exe file and not an mp3 file. Other than that, there's just places you plain avoid, and you're just not going to get any viruses. So none of my laptops, they can't run my games, or at least at this point RTAG Rise. They can't run RTAG Rise because the lighting system is a little bit too hefty, so I'm gonna have to put that into options for the users to be able to disable, and see if they don't have such a powerful computer. If they go below GTX 750 with 8 gigs of RAM and a Core 2 quad, then they can disable the lighting. It's going to look a little less interesting, but the game will still run. So that's kind of an important point. With that, as soon as this computer is done, I'll be able to work on multiplayer, and that's when I'll be able to release the demo. Now, in terms of the demo for RTAG Rise, I have asked my dad to help me with the script, considering he's a script writer, and he's just the best storyteller. He's been studying script writing from the traditional books, so to speak. So this is like the Steven Spielberg era. So I don't want to say era because just in case if he's gonna be watching this, it's when the movies, the veterans of filming industry right now, they learned basically. My dad learned what they learned from the same books. So with this, basically the same experience. It's just my dad haven't had that much luck in terms of pitching projects to the finance, the banks or film financing institutions. So I told him, considering that the film industry is very constrained as to what you're making, because anybody who gives you money will have a leverage over what you're making the movie about, and considering that I figured the gaming industry is a little bit more open, considering that smaller games or indie games can be made from home, and obviously there's the question of quality, but there's a lot of games that are made, for example, with pre-made assets, like with RPG Maker, that have absolutely fantastic games, and they're popular because of that. So a game with a great story will go a long way, even if it has subpar graphics. That can always be improved, which is why I figured how about you help me put my idea in a proper grammatical stance, and I'm gonna go on and write a script, and I'll learn how to write a script properly, and you'll see how the game development takes place in a general form. How script writing for games is different than script writing for movies. So with that being said, he has actually spent like about a week looking at my pitch, and he has formed a grammatically correct way to tell the story that I had. So that being done, he sent back the script. Now I'm basically just writing the actual dialogue, action script, the actual content of the game. So while I'm doing that, I'm writing the script for the demo. As soon as that's done, I will be able to start actually putting together the demo levels. And this is an important step, and especially indie game developments. You gotta have a script for your game. It can be very basic. It can be just it doesn't have to be an entire script of dialogues and anything. Usually, if you have a story, that's more preferable. But if you don't have a script, it's going to be very hard to make a game. You cannot. Once your game reaches a certain scale, you cannot wing it. There's no way. You're gonna lose yourself, and you're gonna simply not know what to do. You're gonna lose interest, and that's how most of the projects essentially get abandoned. It sucks, and it sucks when a project gets abandoned. Especially it sucks when a good project gets abandoned, where the viewer sees a project and he thinks, oh wow, this is a kind of a cool idea, I kind of want to play this, where the developer has been working on this project and trying to wing it for so long, he just lost interest in it. Even though it's a great idea, he just there's no inspiration in it, and that's why projects essentially get abandoned. So to answer a question, I kind of already answered it in the comments, but this is for the one of the users who commented on, I think it was I got greenlit video number 1. where Wayholm got greenlit. So he was asking what happened with the project, and obviously, like myself, like any other indie developer, we don't want to admit that we abandoned projects, because we don't want to be that guy who started a project, never finished. And I have a lot of those. I have had so many projects that I started and finished, and that's been going on for years. The only difference is that at this point, RTAG Rise and Wayholm are 2 greenlit games. So I have a legitimate distribution platform already pre-approved. Obviously, it wasn't pre-approved. It still had to go through the voting. But I've been presenting this game one by one. I've gone to some websites, some forums. I've gone to streaming services. I've even gone to Omegle and just presented my game. After all the dicks and balls and everything, I presented my game to the gaming tag or the gaming community on Omegle. So that was kind of interesting. A lot of people liked it. Out of everybody who stayed for the conversation, a lot of people liked the concept, and it's kind of because I had a fairly flashy trailer, the second trailer, not the first one where Tim and I are sitting on a couch and like, hey, retro gamers. God, that trailer is just cringeworthy, but it's still there. You can see it. So I've gone and just presented my game one by one, and I got both games greenlit. So I have these 2 games are definitely not going to be abandoned, even though I don't show active development for one while I'm working on the other. And this is kind of goes back to the fact that I at this point can allow myself to switch between the 2 projects, considering before it was a little bit stressful, considering I didn't have a job, or I lost the job that I had locally, and that's when this project was the only thing that could possibly bring money. And obviously the bills were piling up. My phone bill, which is it's like $40, so almost $50 a month. So it's $100 2 months. My internet website hosting for the websites, credit card stuff like that. All anything and everything. And so I was kind of like, shit, I gotta get this project greenlit as fast as possible, which is when I went on Omegle, just presented this game one by one, and I got it greenlit that way. With that being said, since then I have found a local job. It's very simple, minimum wage stuff. I give my parents $100 every week to help them with the mortgage payments. It's like a tiny thing, but if you consider that as rent, that's hugely advantageous, so to speak. That is just a huge saving as opposed to actually paying rent. But it's not rent. I'm actually just paying them for the mortgage, which is like a drop in the bucket. And the rest goes to my bill payments, and whatever I have left usually goes towards this. If I need computer parts, we're just setting up a networking system, like a local gigabit network throughout our entire house. So wiring, all that stuff, music-based stuff downstairs, gaming, music, hardware manufacturing. That's another thing that I do. It's all also down in the basement, which I actually have a video of that. Wow, okay, that was like weird. Here, this is the basement right now. So this is my dad has given me one of the TVs that we use for digital signage, which was it was kind of like a little business at some point where we had advertisements showing in little convenience stores on these TVs using like advertisements, and it was a small arrangement, but that didn't pan out. Anyways, the basement is still going through the renovations. This is the table. This is the table of the many components, so to speak. This is where I do things like music hardware manufacturing, considering that programming microcontrollers is one of my hobbies, and music is one of my hobbies. I figured, I'm gonna just kind of marry the two and try to get something out of it. So this is right here is actually a 3D printer that I'm building. There's so many parts that I've ordered on whatever money I had left in order to start printing things like cases and boxes and front panels for this stuff. But this is just music related, just the old case you saw in the other video. So this room, this entire section right there, this is going to be cleared out, and that's going to be purely dedicated for audio recording. So voice actors, singers, I have a couple of people that I'm working with for their own genres, and this is for my own genres, for electro house and popular music and stuff. Everything that is gaming related has been moved upstairs, up here, and obviously, as I mentioned in another video, there is a corner of the basement that's being renovated. We're dedicating it towards a little kind of mocap green screen capture corner. So we're going to be putting up a bit of lighting, and I have 2 of the Kinect sensors that I'm using in conjunction with a monthly subscription plugin for Maya called Animate. And I can do a video on that at some point too, so you guys can just stay in touch for that. So this corner is going to be dedicated to motion capture, and CGI is another thing that I'm very interested in, but I can't do 3D CGI on these machines. That's another thing. Anything that's video, like video related, video editing, CGI, 3D, 3D as in like 3D rendering in Maya. So I can model in Maya for sure for game development, considering that's real-time rendering, and that uses the GPU instead of the CPU, which means that's what games run. Games are basically real-time rendered models. And if I really want to get into CGI and 3D modeling in CGI, and for that I need a better computer, which at some point, if I'm going to start selling these games someday, I'll definitely build a machine powerful enough for CGI. That is like one of my passions. It's all the creative stuff. Anyways, so switch back to this. Anyways, to answer the question, no, Wayholm is not abandoned, and neither is RTAG Rise. I'm just switching between the 2 projects depending on inspiration, considering since I have a job, I can allow myself to do that. And I definitely don't want to be working on a project while I'm not feeling like it. So as of right now, I'm working on RTAG Rise, and I'm working on the demo level and working on the script. In the meantime, while I have to say the multiplayer for RTAG Rise is the last thing that I have to take care of. Everything else, for the most part, like lighting and the game mechanics and all that stuff, for the most part, that has been pretty much straightened out and dealt with. So multiplayer, I'm just waiting, to get some money in to complete this damn machine. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. To complete this damn machine and just get to the multiplayer. While I'm waiting for that, I'm not just sitting on my ass, obviously. While I'm waiting for that, I'm working on the music for RTAG Rise. All taking place downstairs, and I've got some interesting soundtracks written out for it already. Besides everything else, if we get the stuff out of the way, the table that you saw in the basement video, this table is actually going to be moved into the garage. My dad brought an excellent point out that right now, this is more or less manufacturing and drilling and chemicals work, and then I have music hardware right next to it. It's probably not a good idea. The only reason I'm doing this is because I genuinely don't have a lot of space left. But he said, we can clear out the garage, and we can, outfit the garage with a little bit of insulation, and move anything related to manufacturing to the garage, considering we can fit 2 cars in the garage. And my dad does some of this stuff too. We solder wiring connectors all the time. We might as well just do this. So when this will be moved in the basement, this entire room will be dedicated purely for audio. So once that is done, I lost my train of thought. God damn it, this is not good. Once that is done, I can do mocap. That's right, I can do mocap. I can finish up with the green screen room, and I can do mocap for game development, and that's when I can actually continue working on Wayholm. So not a lot of stuff that I actually have to actually shit. Never mind, I totally forgot that I had Wayholm promoted as a monitor/VR game, that you have a VR mode in the actual game. Shit, totally forgot about that. Yeah, so that's like another $500 if I can get my hands on a dev kit instead of the actual HTC Vive or the Oculus. God damn it, totally forgot about that. Jesus, I really haven't been working on Wayholm long enough, or for a while. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, well, all in time. Aside from that, can't say that there's anything else that I have to talk about. What else do I have to talk about? Wayholm, RTAG Rise. Oh my God, it's not a huge thing, but I've been going through the old archives of all the previous games that I've worked on, and there's so much good stuff in there. There's so many good ideas that I really want to work on, but the problem is I have worked on these. Jesus, I've worked on these games for so long that not continuously, but when I was working on those games, I've been putting so much work into them that the scale of the projects essentially became too big for a one-man production, and downscaling or cutting quality in order to get the games done was just really not an ideal move, because from my perspective there are a few games that I could just cut out, but those are not the ideas that I wanted to work on, and the process of just scaling down the project will not do the story justice, so to speak. I would rather wait and hopefully get one of my smaller games up and running, and get some income and actually hire people to work on those bigger games than to cut the quality and having to do my own to do the stuff on my own. It's the games at that point do not deserve that kind of a treatment, and unfortunately some if not most of those games are games that I had other people involved in, which, I mean, here's the thing, it doesn't look good, considering they may at this point think that I've abandoned the games, and it doesn't make me look good, it doesn't make me feel good, and it just it doesn't work well with the trust on it. But the problem is I made those games like 2, 3, 4 years ago, or I came up with those games 2, 3, 4 years ago when I was 17, 18, when the games were just too ambiguous for my own good, and I wasn't involved in the scene enough to be able to swing those kinds of projects. So really hoping that RTAG Rise and Wayholm do well, and for that I need to work a lot on the scripts and on the content on my own, in order to it's indie game development. You gotta get some of those. You gotta get a couple of good games out to show something for you. And I don't have any games out that I have. Well, I have a few small games like mini games, but that doesn't count. I need like good quality games, lots of content in the projects. So with that being said, I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk about today. As I said, I'm going to be going right after this video. I'm going to be going back to script writing for RTAG Rise for the demo level, and as soon as the demo level is done, which has some voice acting that I have to record and has some custom animations that I have to do, as soon as the script done, I will know what kind of assets I need to make, and I will know what kind of music I need to write, and I will know an average, like, general timeline that within which I can complete the demo. Once the demo's out, not even the demo. Once the once the demo's out, the multiplayer's programmed, I will go ahead and release the demo, and I'll have the early access version of the game up on Steam. Since it's already been greenlit, for people to actually buy the game, have their entitlement for the full project. I get the kickback, and I'm able to pay some of the people who've worked on this project, like the voice actors. I know one voice actor for sure who's going to be on this project. His name is Steve Buckus, and here I'm going to actually pull up his profile, considering he has done so much work for me, and he's just a great voice actor. In Canada, he lives in Canada, so we can record locally. He has his own hardware that he can work on, and he has done so much work for my projects without saying anything. If I had some edits, we did the edits, no questions asked. If I had something to record a new project, he would jump on it. He would not hesitate, right? So I hope that he still has faith into my projects. So this is his profile, and he does a lot of extensive YouTube stuff. You can go ahead and check them out. Chris Buckus, not Steve. Did I say Steve Buckus? Sorry, Chris Buckus. And he has a YouTube channel, actually. Let me pull that up real quick. He has a YouTube channel called Christoverse. It's a gaming/comedy channel. And it's definitely worth checking out. Here we go. Christoverse. It's pretty good. The content's good. So that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. I gotta go back and start working on this goddamn script, and stay in touch. Thank you for watching this entire vlog, this entire me ravaging about stuff. And stay in touch. We'll see you maybe tomorrow, if I'm going to be doing these vlogs daily, so that I could get some progress, some sense of progress for myself. See you guys next time.